Studies show that nearly 70% of energy consultants feel that it's very challenging to navigate the world of undertaking energy audits. There's mountains of data to shift through. There's the pressure of delivering actionable insights to your clients within a short time span. And what should be a straightforward process can sometimes feel like climbing a steep and rocky mountain that never seems to end. And all you want to do is reach the summit without losing your sanity in the process or even falling off the mountain. With energy efficiency so important and valuable, your role as an energy auditor or advisor is actually in the spotlight, with sustainability officers and management teams counting you for clarity. With investment in the energy audit, there's an ongoing push for thorough and effective audits. So if you can master the ability to undertake effective energy audits, not only will you enhance your credibility, but you'll be positioning yourself as a person that people can go to when they want good energy efficiency advice. And why does this matter? With governments enforcing stricter regulations and organisations setting ambitious sustainability goals, the need for energy audits that are precise and insightful and which engender action is critically important. Can't be understated. You're not just crunching numbers, you're actually creating pathways for businesses and organisations to lower their energy costs, enhance their efficiency, and ultimately contribute to a healthier planet. But how do you cut through the complexity of undertaking an energy audit without feeling overwhelmed? And that's exactly what this video is about. We're going to be breaking down the elements of energy audits into manageable sections so that you can handle them effectively whilst keeping your sanity intact. Are you ready? Let's get into it. I'm Bruce Rouse from the Sustainability Education Academy. For most of my career, I've been an energy efficiency consultant and I've undertaken many hundreds of energy audits. So to keep it really simple, it's just two things that really matter, only two. The first thing is that you need to have a very clear scope of works for the energy audit. And the second is that your goal is to present a compelling and trustworthy business case for energy efficiency. So it's just those two, clear scope and you want to present a great business case for energy efficiency. And if you focus intently on these two and put other things to the side, you'll find that some of the complexity drops away and you should end up getting higher audit implementation rates. And your career will progress and you'll become more in demand because not only are you providing advice, you're providing advice that's actioned on. So what's involved in a clear audit scope? This is critical, and I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mistake that energy auditors make. They think that they have a clear scope, but they actually don't. For example, the scope might be to take a level 2 or a type 2 energy audit of a facility, referencing a particular standard. That's actually not a very clear scope. Why do you think that's the case? A clear scope includes with it things like the resources available to implement actions that will save energy or implement energy efficiency measures, and it also includes the constraints that the organisation has. So a better scope for an energy audit would be to say, I want you to do a type 2 or level 2 energy audit. We have $200,000 that we want to invest in energy efficiency upgrades over the next 2 years, and we're relying on the energy audit to tell us how to spend that money. We want our money invested in a way that gets the largest savings and the fastest return on investment. And it's critical, this project won't proceed if we don't get an internal rate of return of at least 16% on our investment. So now that is a very clear energy audit scope. It tells you quality of the audit, which is a level 2 or type 2, referencing the standard, but it's also very clear about the budget, the timeframe, the hurdle rates. It gives you the constraints of the budget and the constraints of the hurdle rates. Also gives you an implementation timeframe. So when that's your scope and you've asked questions to clarify that scope, the audit is much more likely to be implemented. And ultimately, a good audit is one where the advice in it is implemented. Now, if your client isn't clear about those things, if they just would like to, I didn't know what they need to do to save energy, but aren't actually really committed to saving energy, then I think you've got a bit of a problem. And you need to step back and educate the client before you even put forward your quote for the energy audit, because maybe an energy audit is appropriate for them. Let me just give a quick analogy. Let's say that you want to build a new house. Firstly, before you go ahead to build that house, You've got to make sure you have the land to build it on. You've got to make sure you know how much it's going to cost to build the house, because it's pointless in starting if you can't afford to finish it. And you'll have an idea of the time frame. For example, you might be currently renting and you've got a lease which is going to expire in 2 years. So you can say, my new house needs to be built within the next 2 years. So you've got a clear scope of works. With that scope of works, you're then going to go and say commission an architect to come up with a set of blueprints so you can build that house. Now, the blueprints aren't the house. It's just the plan showing you how to build the house. So with an energy audit, if you're undertaking an energy audit and your client doesn't really know how much money they want to spend on implementing your upgrades, if they have access to funding, they don't even know what the hurdle rate is, what the payback needs to be, you're really flying blind because they're actually not sure what they want, and probably they're going to be wasting their money on an energy audit. And I've seen it far too often happen. Energy audits don't get implemented because the client and the energy auditor both assume that just because we do an energy audit, that is going to solve all the problems involved with energy efficiency upgrades, like somehow it's going to magically deal with the budget problem, with the other constraints. It's far better to go ahead with an intent, with a client that intends to implement energy efficiency measures, than one who's just got wishful thinking about what they might be able to achieve with energy efficiency, not what they want to achieve. So you need to almost step back and view yourself as a business advisor, not as an engineer who's really good at finding savings opportunities and developing a business case. You need to step back before that and say, why do you want an energy audit? Is it the best thing for you right now? And you do realize that an energy audit doesn't actually give you any benefit in terms of saving energy. It just tells you what you need to do to save energy. Just as an architect's blueprint doesn't build the house for you, it just shows you how to build the house. An energy audit doesn't save energy, it just tells you what you need to do to save energy. And if you're not prepared and you don't have an idea of how much money you want to invest in saving energy, and you don't have that money, access to that money, then you're wasting your time. Now, that's maybe a tough conversation to have, but believe me, if you have that conversation and you can do it in a way which engenders trust and say, look, I know this is uncomfortable. I don't really want to talk about this with you, but I need to raise it so you're getting the best value from the money you spend on the energy audit, then that's going to build up trust, and ultimately you're going to get much higher implementation rates. The second thing that you have to do, and which is going to cut through all the complexity of an energy audit, is you need to be intently focused. Once you've got that commitment, you know the boundaries, the scope, the constraints, the budget available for implementing upgrades, you need to come up with a compelling and trustworthy business case for investment in energy efficiency that meets the constraints of your client and fits within their available budget. So in order to do that, just focus only on collecting the information, analyzing the information that helps you build that strong business case. So don't get distracted. For example, how do energy auditors commonly get distracted? They get incredibly distracted, I've seen, in documenting past historical energy consumption. So you look at an energy audit, and believe me, there's 10 pages, maybe 15 pages of graphs and charts about how much energy the site used in the past. Okay, you do need a baseline, and the baseline energy consumption is very important. And possibly you need to normalize that for weather. But you don't need to be spending a whole lot of time going back through years of data, generating graphs and tables and things like that. You're just wasting time. Provided you've got the baseline energy consumption, you can work off that. So focus on getting a baseline energy consumption. Make sure it's really accurate. So you don't want estimates, you want actual build data, and then build off that. Don't get too hung up on historical consumption data. The next thing that you need to be focused on once you've got that baseline is you need to develop the energy use breakdown. And this is where I see energy auditors make another mistake in that they don't put enough attention into the energy use breakdown. Now, the energy use breakdown is like in simple form, it's like a pie chart, which shows you, yeah, we used 40% in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and 25% in lighting, and so on, to get 100% energy usage. But it's not just that. It's a bit more than that. It's not just that breakdown, it's actually balanced against the actual consumption in the bills. Now, if you don't balance that breakdown, so let's say a site uses, hypothetically, 1 million kilowatt hours a year, and you've said that HVAC uses 40%. Well, 40% would be 400,000 kilowatt hours. But if your 40% happens to be 600,000 kilowatt hours, either it's actually using 60% or you've overestimated completely the energy consumption, and there's something wrong with your assumptions. So balancing the energy usage from your energy use breakdown against the actual bills is really critical. And actually, if you're from Australia, like I am, our local Australian and New Zealand energy efficiency audit standard, AS3598, a lot of it's all about doing that energy use breakdown and balancing it properly with the actual energy consumption. Because once I know that the HVAC, say, for example, uses 400,000 kilowatt hours of energy a year, then all my savings recommendations are going to be based off that baseline number. And if that baseline number is accurate, my savings estimates are much less likely to over-exaggerate the savings, which is a very common audit problem. Also, by doing the breakdown, you'll identify perhaps loads that you didn't missed out on and where there's good energy savings opportunities. So all calculations need to hang off that energy use breakdown. Once you've done that, then you need to build out your savings recommendations. So this is the third step. Baseline energy consumption, energy use breakdown, then build out your savings recommendations. And look, I could talk for hours, and I've got a whole course about how to build out those recommendations. But basically, you need to have fairly broad technical knowledge, but know your limitations and be willing to ask for help to do that. So I guess this comes back to another technique that you're going to use when you're building this trustworthy business case is you're going to effectively engage with those who understand the site well and also get their input. So you're getting your baseline numbers right, you're getting your energy use breakdown right, and then you're discussing as you go through the potential savings recommendations, identifying the risks associated with the recommendation and addressing those risks. So look, I just want this to be a brief kind of video, and I realize that energy audits can be complex, but in summary, you really just need to dig yourself out of that complexity by just being intently focused. Firstly, at the start, intently focused on making sure that you have a good scope. And it's not the scope that people often think it is. The scope is not just the type or level of energy audit. The scope all has to do with what budget is available to implement the upgrades and what are the constraints. What payback period do I need to achieve? How soon does it need to be implemented? Are there any things that are really urgent for you? So you really need to get that scope very clear. And secondly, once you've got the scope clear, make sure that you are intensely focused on providing a business case that is trustworthy, so you're not over-exaggerating savings and underestimating costs, and is engaging and hopefully identifies many opportunities to save energy. Now, I hope that's helped. And if you're looking to take your skills to the next level and become a recognized expert and to learn a systematic method for identifying and maximizing savings opportunities in an energy audit, consider taking the investment grade energy auditor certification from the Sustainability Education Academy. And below the video, we've got a link. We can some free lessons available. We can just have a thanks, and I look forward to helping you, if you're going to take that course, do better energy efficiency work, get better clarity, and ultimately get your clients implementing more savings recommendations. I hope this helped.